a lot of it is what Chris talked about, which is trying to use benchmarking to assess depth of relationship and where do I have relationships where I'm meeting one financial need, but they have other financial needs that I'm not meeting and someone else is meeting those needs. When it comes to deposit gathering, one of the most fundamental premises that the assessment is built on and that should be kind of the radar in your head in thinking about gathering deposits is also happens to be the single most consistent fact I've seen in 35 years of banking, which is the more they have with you, the more they have somewhere else. This shows up consistently, whether you're looking at more macro wallet share data or whether you're looking at campaign response data on a more micro basis. The fact that I've already given you $50,000 is way more predictive of my likelihood to give you another 50 than the fact that I happen to have $500,000 somewhere else. So I always like to say, Bill Gates could put $1 billion in your bank. He's not going to do that, even though he has the capacity to do it, because he doesn't know who you are. He has no propensity to give you that money. And the only way you would be able to get Bill Gates to give you money is to pay him 10% or 25% or some crazy interest rate that he can't get anywhere else. And then he might actually look you up and decide to give you some money. And so that's kind of the premise behind the assessment is where do we have this intersection of capacity to grow, balances, relationships, and inclination or propensity to do that. And the central view of the data in the assessments, a deposit concentration table where you intersect macro concentration ratios. So we have 4% of households control 60% of deposits. Those are numbers you need to know because they're critical to the retention and the stability essentially of your funding base. But then intersecting with the concentration ratios, what are the strengths of those relationships? What's my penetration of checking in each deposit tier? What is my single versus multi-service usage? What percentage are also using credit products, which serve as an anchor on the deposit relationship? And so when you start to bring this data together, you have the ability to manage both relationships and portfolios in an integrated way versus having to try to choose between the two. And what happens there, to go to Chris's point about marketing being an investment, is when I can align, this is my highest retention priority. So these people are critical to my funding base and they represent my most efficient growth opportunity. And I can spend one marketing dollar to maximize retention and get efficient growth. That's the prioritization. That's a dollar you want to spend every day of the week. So the assessment helps you to quantify in specific segments what are those opportunities and what are those investments and what would be a reasonable expectation of return on those investments.